One of the bigger issues hitting adult action figure collectors these days is Hasbro's move to switch from window box packaging to see our action figures and pick out the one we want or display them in package to closed boxes, sealed boxes. Now, other toy companies so far have not been following suit and are still retaining the window box to show off price value, to show off the paint, the deco, the accessories, etc., etc. Now, Hasbro has done some what are called fifth panel boxes. That's when there's a flap that opens. I actually thought this figure was another closed box until I fiddled with it and realized, oh, there's a flap there. But yes, pretty much across the board, Hasbro's the only one doing this. I think there's a lot of wait and see going on in the industry to see what the reaction is, to see how sales are affected, because it's already shown with Target putting the basic Thor figures on clearance because, well, honestly, parents read a closed box like this as an activity toy, like a puzzle. Meaning, is this an action figure or is this something you put together and, try to figure out the right combination of legs and arms or something like that? So there's also, of course, the bigger issue for collectors, and that's what I refer to as the jerk factor, where somebody buys a closed box, pops it open, puts in two unrelated figures, maybe two cheap figures that weigh the same, and then returns it to the store. This has been an ongoing issue even before closed boxes. Closed boxes just make it easier. So now that Hasbro has switched over to this, there's actually a much larger issue that is not being talked about at all, because I think, well, it's hidden in the business tactics. So again, with Hasbro revealing new product lines coming out, like I'm a huge fan of Indiana Jones, but if I want a photograph of an Indiana Jones action figure, I'll download a photograph off the internet. I don't need it on the package. I want to see the figure. I mean, yes, you could flip over and, see more photos of the figure, but again, I don't want a photograph of an action figure. I want to see the action figure. Maybe that's just me, but a lot of us really enjoy the aspect of packaging. It's become part of the hobby. It's become part of pop culture. Action figures have become pop art. I mean, proof in the pudding is the fact that people freeze their action figures in carbonite and pay huge amounts of money to companies like, AFA, grading them and actually grade the figures on card because they want to preserve the figure and the card back as the total product they're buying, not just the figure, the card back and the ability to see figure. All right, so I mentioned there is a bigger problem, a bigger issue that's not being talked about or addressed, and that's kind of what's different about Spector Creative. All right, so we all know that the price of 6-inch figures, well, all figures are going up, up, up. What used to be a $20 figure just 2 years ago are now getting close to $30, which is a lot to spend on a 6-inch figure. Now, Hasbro hasn't made this whole closed box thing across the board. There are still some figures that are in, window boxes or blister cards, if you will. But for the most part, we're seeing basic figures at that same price point. And the big thing that they're eliminating by having them in closed boxes is the plastic, not just of the window, but the inner blister. That's the blister that holds the figure in place, specifically so you could see price value and all the accessories. Now, lesson be learned, inner blisters weren't always around. If you go back to the 80s, toys didn't have inner blisters. They were just stuck in the main blister. So there really is no reason to have an inner blister. There are creative solutions to eliminate this part of the plastic. The old Masters of the Universe toys had a little dimple there that pushed the figure against the back card, so you didn't need that inner blister. One of the things that's an issue is how much the cost of materials has been skyrocketing. Plastic, paint, chicken feed, it's all going up. And this is what's driven the increased cost. Not to mention labor. In China, the cost of labor has skyrocketed. So the toy companies aren't making money hands over fist. They're paying way more. So recently I got the Hasbro Legends Mojo, which came in another closed box. But what was interesting was I had to put the whole figure together. It came in 10, 12 different pieces. I had to plug in the top, the bottom, the arms, the little tail thing, whatever you call it, the little, I don't even know what you call this, chair, whatever it was. It required my assembly. I had to pull it out and I had to put it together. So previously, when you had an action figure in a box or, a blister, you would see it. It's kind of like the whole, reusable cup concept that Starbucks uses or, bars that have bring your own bowl to drink beer out of. They're basically pushing the assembly now from labor in the factory to the end consumer. They have to do it themselves. So in other words, Hasbro is saving a huge amount of money, eliminating the blister and eliminating the labor to assemble the figures. So without the blister to see the figure and having the customer have to put the figure together, that's a huge savings for the toy company. Those are two of the biggest things. So with that in mind, that's really the question that I'm asking. Because we've seen the price of action figures skyrocket, and it seems like eliminating the blister and eliminating the labor of assembly would be a savings that could be passed along to the consumer. You no longer need to pay these lovely ladies to put together pink dogs. They're now expecting the customer to snap together Mojo themselves, or pink dogs, whatever it is you're buying. So without this inner blister being visible, the figures just come wrapped in tissue paper and slotted right into the box. So having to put the figure together, why is that savings not being passed along to the consumer? The boxes, the packaging costs way less, and assembly costs way less. So the toy company is making more margin. And with prices going up, I really do have to wonder, why isn't the customer seeing a lower price? What do you think? Have you had the same kind of thoughts about this, seeing packaging shrink and having to assemble the figures yourself now? Love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Please do share this video if you can. It's the best way to show support for this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.